Chair recognizes Chairman Bonnie Rich to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues. I bring to you today Senate Bill 435, also known as the Survivors First Act, and previously known as the Debbie Vance Act, who passed away unexpectedly last May, who was one of our courageous victim survivors of human trafficking. Part of our state's priority is to give victims of human trafficking an opportunity to move forward with their lives after they have escaped. Victims of human trafficking often come out with criminal arrests and convictions for offenses ranging from prostitution to drug-related offenses to shoplifting. These convictions can prevent these victims from moving ahead with their lives. They can prevent them from getting a job, housing, and an education. This bill authorizes the vacating and sometimes the lesser restricting of reporting of convictions and sentencing for those who have obtained them as a result of being a victim of human trafficking for labor or sexual servitude. 2 years ago, the Street Grace Survivor Advisory Board met to discuss human trafficking policy changes that were needed in our state, and they identified this bill as their priority policy. Not only did these survivor leaders identify this as their key policy priority, but they brought this idea to First Lady Kemp and then sat with attorneys in the governor's office to help craft the key details of this legislation. This legislation is a great example of our legislature listening to the human trafficking survivors and overcomers who have firsthand expertise in this area, and is being held up nationally as an example of the good that can come when survivors are not just invited to the table to exploit them for their moving stories, but are treated as the experts that they truly are. I have a statement from the Street Grace Survivor Advisor Board Co-Chair Nikki Burrell. She says, as a trafficking survivor myself, I understand the importance of having to rebuild my life after severe complex trauma. Part of my trauma while I was trafficked included an arrest, and I am not alone in this. Many, many trafficking survivors have been arrested while being forced to commit crimes during the duress of their experience, just to survive their everyday life. Consider if it were your son, daughter, niece, nephew, granddaughter, or grandson who was caught in the arms of a trafficker and had no way to survive but to do what he or she was told to do, which was prostitution, petty crimes, etc. Trafficking victims often feel there is no choice involved other than the choice to stay alive. Once given the opportunity to escape, survivors are given the opportunity for a brand new start. Some of them need help rebuilding their lives, which includes getting a job, a home, a checking account, things that most of us take for granted. Often after years of restorative care, our victims have trouble getting any of these things because of their criminal records. But ladies and gentlemen, the Survivors First Act will allow these victims to break past their barriers that stop them from living their everyday life. It's our civic duty and our moral responsibility, one we must consider as we fight against the horrific trafficking that happens in our state, to give these victims the opportunity that they deserve. Mr. Speaker, I will yield for any questions.
You have a question if you care to yield.
I do.
Chair recognizes Chairman Silcox to your right for a question.
I do.
Isn't it true, Representative Rich, that this bill will allow judges to completely vacate convictions and sentences of defendants who've been victims of sex trafficking?
Yes, that is true.
Isn't it it also true, Representative Rich, that this will greatly further the work of the Grace Commission and First Lady Marty Kemp's work?
Yes, it will. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for bringing the bill.
And it's important to note that it does allow judges that option, and if necessary, there will be a full evidentiary hearing so as to prevent any abuse. We've made sure that everything is locked down very carefully in this. Thank you for your question. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.